Welcome back, bros. Today I'd like to talk about Falcon pipes, what I like about them, what I don't like about them, and whether I would recommend that you get one. So the Falcon is a pipe with a very distinct look. The most recognizable thing about them is that they have this detachable bowl that attaches on to a aluminium stem. A very distinguishing feature is the humidome, which you can see is this basin here. The reason for the humidome is to accommodate a dry ring, which catches the moisture from the smoke and also allows some space for the smoke to cool before it reaches your tongue. The detachable bowls are really the main thing that distinguishes the Falcon from a more traditional briar. Should you get a Falcon? Let me get the criticisms out of the way first, and then I'll talk about the things that I like about them. So I really only have two main criticisms. The first is that I'm somewhat of a traditionalist, and I always thought that the Falcons looked a little bit sci-fi, a little bit futuristic, or a little bit robotic or something. And I think that's because when I first saw Falcons, I saw the original model, which is a silver chrome stem, and it contrasted with the briar, and it looked a little bit off to me. But they do produce a stem with a brown finish, which is called the Extra, and a stem with a black finish, which is called the Hunter. And for me, that mitigated the sci-fi look, and it convinced me to get one. And as I've gotten used to the pipe and smoked it a lot more, the look really has grown on me, and I do kind of like the way they look now. Occasionally, Falcon will drop a limited edition stem, like the Shillelagh, that's got like a spiraled stem, which I think looks really cool. And they do make what's called an international stem, which looks a lot more like a traditional briar. So that might be a thing that you would lean towards if you were more of a traditionalist like me. My other criticism is that the stems are plastic. Apparently they used to be made with vulcanite, which is a rubber product. It has a nice, little bit softer feel on the teeth if you're a clencher, which plastic doesn't really have. But that's a problem really that can be mitigated entirely with a rubber bit. So not a huge criticism in the final analysis. So on to what I do like about them. The first thing to say is that the humidome and the dry ring really do work. It's not just a gimmick. The first time I got a Falcon and I packed it and I lit one up, I was immediately impressed with the smoke. Very cool, dry, and really flavorful. The flavors come through beautifully, and it really brings out the beauty in any blend. The smoke is so good, in fact, that the Falcon quite quickly became my everyday pipe that I would always reach for. So much so that I started to feel bad for my traditional briars. I wondered if they were just sat on the rack, getting lonely and feeling neglected. So every now and then I do force myself to go back and smoke my briars. Partly also because I worry that I'll forget how to smoke a traditional briar, because the Falcon smokes so easily it feels a little bit like cheating. But the thing is, the name of the game with pipe smoking is relaxation, enjoyment, recreation, so no guilt on that front, really. The position of the draft hole on the bottom of the bowl affords a few advantages as well. One of them is that very little moisture actually collects in the bowl. So despite the fact that because of the interchangeable bowls, you could put a new bowl on the same stem straight away for another smoke straight away. So little moisture collects in the bowl that it's really not necessary, and you could smoke the bowl again with zero moisture issues. Also, because of where the draft hole is, the leaf can burn right down almost to nothing, so there's no wet, unsmokable plug of tobacco at the bottom, and that reduces the wastage. The other thing is that the position of the draft hole makes packing a Falcon very forgiving. I think you would have to actively try to pack a Falcon in properly, in a way that would produce like a tight draw and a hot smoke. So it's forgiving in the way that it packs. So the interchangeable bowls mean that if you have a couple of stems and a few different bowls, you can mix and match the bowls, and everyone looks and feels a bit like a different pipe, which is pretty cool. The other thing is, if you have a problem with PAD, like yours truly, pipe acquisition disorder, it is a real thing, pray for me, brothers. Rather than buy a new pipe, you can slake the PAD by dropping 15 to 17 quid on a new bowl. You feel like you've got a new pipe, It'll keep the demons at bay for a few weeks. Onto the stem. The aluminium stem is very light, so if you're a clencher, very light and comfortable in the mouth, you can walk around with that all day, you would barely know it was there. The other thing is it's very durable, so it's the kind of pipe that you can take out and about, and you could put it in your pocket, you wouldn't be worried about any kind of damage. Particularly if you're the kind of person who likes to go camping and hiking, for that reason it's very good. You could throw the stem in your pack with the bowl separately, and you could hike all day, pull it out when you set down to camp, and there would be zero worry about any kind of damage. So very low maintenance in that regard. So for all the reasons mentioned, I think that the Falcon would also make an excellent beginner pipe. So in conversations about beginner pipes, the one that's recommended most is the cob, and I get why, because the cob is an excellent material for pipe smoking in general, particularly for the beginner. I think the reason why the cob gets recommended most really is the price. You can get a cob for as low as £5. A cob with a nice acrylic stem will run you about 20 quid. A Falcon stem and bowl will run you about 30 quid, so that's for 10 quid extra. If money's not such a big deal, I think it's a strong contender for beginner pipe. So on to a few practical issues. The first thing is the pipe cleaners. Falcon produces an extra thin pipe cleaner that they recommend that you use to clean out the stem. Most tobacconists produce their own extra thin pipe cleaners that work just as well, and I have found that if you don't have any, a regular tapered pipe cleaner will work just as well, as long as you insert the thin end first. The other thing is about the dry rings. Falcon sells a dry ring, however, essentially what it is a clipped off loop of pipe cleaners, so you can do that yourself, make those yourself at home. What I do is take a pipe cleaner, the extra thins if you have them, but if not, no big deal, and wrap that around a pen, clip that off with wire clippers, put that in the humidome, and it works just as well. I don't recommend that you smoke a Falcon without any kind of dry ring in them, because without anything to absorb the moisture, the water just collects in the humidome and it bubbles up as you're smoking. It feels like there's a jacuzzi underneath the bowl, and a little bit of steam gets in the smoke. So I would recommend you always use some kind of dry ring in there. People tend to say that Falcons require a more lengthy cleanup. I found that at most you're looking at 10-20 seconds extra over a traditional briar. My routine is to detach the bowl, discard the dry ring, which is now, I guess, a wet ring, swab out the humidome with a piece of cotton wool, then run a pipe cleaner through the stem, use the same pipe cleaner to ream out the draft hole to make sure that doesn't cake up, bend the pipe cleaner in half and ream out the inside of the bowl. So to finish up, I've got a lot of praise for these pipes. I would recommend them to new pipe smokers and seasoned pipe smokers alike, on the basis that they provide such an easy, cool, dry and flavorful smoke that is forgiving to pack and is very durable as well. This has become the pipe that I smoke day in, day out. It's the one that I reach for every time, so it comes with my wholehearted recommendation. I would say get yourself a Falcon. Keep enjoying your smokes and comfy puffs, bros.